Life Audio.
Hey there, friend. Heather Creekmore. I'm glad you're listening to the Compared to Who show today. Today, I'm continuing coaching with my client, Presli. Now, I have coached Presli on 4 other podcast episodes. So if you are new to the show and want to hear a little bit more about Presli's journey and kind of where we started, you can go look up those shows. I'll have links to those in the show notes. But for now, Presli and I are just kind of talking through where she's at. Presli is going through the Body Image Freedom Framework, and she's been part of the 40-day journey now twice. And she's just working on her stuff, and she's doing great. And she couldn't wait for us to have a session so she could tell me about what happened when she went to a restaurant and her meal did not look like it was supposed to look. Did not fit her diet plan. Oh, y'all, if you've ever been on a diet and eaten out, you've probably had this happen. So this is so relatable, and it's a humorous story in hindsight, but when you're there, oh goodness, it hurts. So I think you're going to enjoy this session Presli and I have where we kind of just talk through where she's at now as she digs into her own body image issues. Hey, thanks for listening to the show today. If you want to get coaching like Presli, know that that is available. You can go to improvedbodyimage.com and you can learn about all the stuff we have to offer. There are hundreds of podcast episodes. So if you're brand new here, hey, there's lots of content for you to check out. But we also have coaching. I've written several books. I have a brand new book on aging. If you are over 45, this book is for you. My 40-day body image workbook is what we use for the 40-day journey. There's a body image freedom framework course. I've also written a book on comparison, and my story is in my book called Compared to Who. I've got devotionals on YouVersion, just lots and lots of stuff for you. If body image is your thing, connect with us, get on our mailing list, get on our friends list, and we've got hope and help that you need. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Let's get to this coaching session with Presli. Welcome to Compared to Who, the podcast to help you make peace with your body so you can savor God's rest and feel His love. If you're tired of fighting body image the world's way, Compared to Who is the show for you. You've likely heard lots of talk about loving your body, but my goal is different. Striving to fall in love with stretch marks and cellulite is a little silly to me. Instead, I want to encourage you and remind you with the truth of Scripture that you are seen, you are known, and you are loved no matter what your size or shape. Here, the pressure is off. If you're looking for real talk, biblical encouragement, and regular reminders that God loves you and you're not alone, you've come to the right place. I hope you enjoy today's show, and hey, tell a friend about it. Presli, how have you been since our last conversation?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a while.
Yeah. Has it been 3 months maybe? It's been a while.
Seems like a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, you've been involved. You went through the 40 days journey twice, and you've been participating in some other coaching while you work through the Body Image Freedom Framework online course. Where do you feel like you're at today?
I was thinking back when we first started, and I feel like back then I was looking for something or someone to blame for all the issues.
Okay.
And yeah, and then also I felt like I was looking for something or someone for a solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so now I definitely don't feel like my solution is in any person,
Mm-hmm.
or it's not any fault of anyone's. So that's I feel like I grew up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that. I grew up a little bit. I kind of tell people that all the time, hey, we might have to grow up a little. So, and not in a mean way, but I think that's what God wants of us, right? To grow up. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally an infant in Christ. I mean, just like a little baby.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think that's part of the maturity process too, I think maturity is understanding, oh my goodness, I thought I had come so far And maybe I have a lot further to go. Right. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that happens a lot with my clients where it's like, I've been following the Lord for 20 or 30 or 40 years. I mean, I know that's not your story, but I guess you're not that old. But I talk to women that
Yeah.
are like, I've been following them for 40 years and I feel like I'm starting over. So yeah, I mean, I think I think it's exciting that you're already kind of sensing your desire and need to mature. And goodness, in 40 years, you can have a completely different story. So I love that.
Yeah. Oh, I sure hope so. It's definitely a journey, like from beginning to end. Like you start out thinking you know what you're looking for, and it's totally different than the solution.
What did you think you were looking for?
Maybe like the thing that would fix me and make me be able to eat right or not be an emotional eater or not be someone who hates the way they look in clothes or like gets like hates the way I look in pictures or just is concerned about it. But I thought the solution to that was looking perfect.
Yeah,
And then if I look perfect, then I won't have any of those issues.
right, right. An external solution. Yeah. What do you believe now?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think it definitely the part that has to do with me is surrender, but it feels like changing my economy and aligning it with God's economy is like a continual every day, every second, every photo, every interaction type of thing. Every time I get dressed type of thing. Like, and I have to like learn those values
Mhm.
and keep putting off my old thought patterns. And I
Yeah,
still get stuck. And I have like one foot in the world and one foot in what I know is right. And then I'm like, dang it, why am I doing that again?
yeah, yeah. I think that's very normal. And I think that's also it it's a reminder, I think, that flies in the face of what diet culture promises, right? Because diet culture kind of promises that you'll have an after where you won't have this like renewed daily struggle, right? You're just going to become an after picture and you just stay there forever, like in this glorious, blissful place. Now, reality is like anyone who's been an after picture knows they don't stay there, right? Like the Oprah Winfrey special last spring, she talked about how like she did her big dramatic, like pulling her wagon of fat across the stage. And she was like, I started gaining weight the next day. Right. So there she was an after, but she couldn't even stay an after for a day. And I know that story's so common, but I think
Yeah.
like we kind of all long for this place where just we'll be able to rest and just stay there and not have to like worry about it every day. And that's just not what a human existence is like. And especially it's not what I think the life of faith is, right? It's take up your cross daily. Renew your mind daily. It is a daily process of surrendering, oh, not my will, but your will be done, God. And oh, yeah, it takes more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say work because work makes it sound like works based, if you will. Like you just do the things, and if you do the things good enough, then you get the result. Because I don't think that's
Right.
accurate, but I just think it takes intentionality, maybe is a good word, or you have to really. I think back to like Rick Warren wrote this book called Purpose Driven Life a very long time ago. And it's like, in
Oh
some
yeah.
ways,
Heard of that.
every day you have to wake up and be like, okay, like, what's my goal? What am I living for? What's my ultimate reason for today? And surrender all that is selfish and would have motivated before and lay it all down and say, okay, God, what do you want for me today? What do you have for me today? So, Presley, as we kind of process like the ways that you have maybe come to see things differently. There's a story you told me about butter and a
Oh yeah,
restaurant.
the butter.
The great butter debacle of 2020 something.
Yeah,
Would you
2022.
2022, the great butter debacle of 2022, would you mind sharing that?
Okay. So we had just moved to South Africa and we were excited to try new restaurants and um, all the things here. But when you're counting calories and you're dieting, that can make it very complicated and kind of suck the joy right out of everything. So I had my Fitness Pal ready and I was gonna, log my meal there at the restaurant was called Mozambique. And I ordered grilled fish and grilled shrimp because I thought that would be perfect. I can figure that out. And then it arrives at the table, and literally every part of my meal is drenched in butter. Like it's in bowls and it's drenched in butter. And I immediately have a nervous breakdown. And my husband, I can see him, he starts sweating and he's just looking at me wide-eyed and miserable and wait to see like how bad am I going to blow up. And I was like, had such a bad attitude about it. Like, this is ridiculous. Who could eat this? Like, nobody could afford to eat this. Like, this is ridiculous. And my husband said it just ruined the whole time. My husband said he never wants to go back to that restaurant. Literally every time we pass it on the highway, he says, I never want to go back there. That was so horrible.
He has PTSD from the great butter debacle of 2022. Oh.
Yeah, I ruined it for everyone. I
Mm.
wanted him to go and strangle the manager for serving that type of food. And now, like looking back, it's so embarrassing. But
Yeah.
that delicacy thing,
Yeah, the gluttony of delicacy that C.S. Lewis talks about. Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm glad you're to
Yeah,
the place now where you can laugh about it. And I just want anyone listening to understand that, like, if that was you yesterday, like, no shame or blame coming from either of these two girls here,
yeah,
because we have been
absolutely not.
there and it's
Um,
real. I mean,
it certainly is.
what do you think you were feeling really at the time? Like, have you been able to process it at all? Because I know you mentioned it to me a little while ago, so I know you've thought about it. What do you think was actually going on inside of you?
Yeah, so I think I I immediately felt derailed. I was
Hmm.
like, this is going to put me off from my goals. I was really I was really hoping to meet a size goal. I
Okay.
wanted to fit into certain pants because I thought when I'm this size, then I'll be content and satisfied and everything will be perfect. And I thought this is going to set me back. And this is just not, I can't account for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me feel insecure,
Mm-hmm.
um, and out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was going to cost me my control.
Yeah. I'm also thinking that you felt afraid,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like butter was scary because it was going to jeopardize your goal and set you back. And I'm going to guess that somehow probably your day, the way you'd eaten all day, you probably had kind of planned around having a big, nice meal. And so maybe you
Yeah,
went into that scenario over hungry or a little deprived because
always.
this was going to be your big splurge of the day.
Absolutely.
And then you didn't have an option. What could you eat? I mean, Presley, like I have done this so many times. I really have. So, absolutely, again, no shame. Like, I remember just being infuriated looking at a restaurant menu, thinking, like, just being angry with my husband or whomever we were with, like, didn't anyone consider what can I eat? I can't eat any of this.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And it's so funny because it's so like in some ways it was just so normative. Right? Like that was just the normal way of process. And now you mentioned the gluttony of delicacy. And let me kind of fill that out for anyone who's curious. So C.S. Lewis, in his book Screw Tape Letters, which is it's letters from a demon uncle advisor to a younger demon. And he actually kind of exposes this concept that often we're like happy to talk about gluttony as just being like overindulgence. But the gluttony of delicacy is the kind of gluttony, which is really I think, the heart of all gluttony, that's self centered, right? And so in the gluttony of delicacy, you're so self centered that you are offended and appalled when people offer you food hospitably, right? When they're
So sad.
graciously like serving you delicious things, you're like, I can possibly, like, how dare you?
Oh
Ah,
yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
real
That reminds
thing.
me of asking my mother, sorry.
No, go
That
ahead.
reminds me of asking my mother-in-law when we just moved here again and she was spoiling us with all the nice food and making nice food for us and me asking her how many calories was in something that she made. And that the whole thing was just like outlandish to her. How many what? What?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like not embarrassed at all. And I was like, how could y'all be eating food and you don't even know the calories? Like y'all are irresponsible. Do y'all have any goals for yourself?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. It's so interesting how so much of our lives become consumed with like dieting principles and calories and thinking about food that we almost don't even notice how it spills over into relationships, like you said with your mother-in-law, like asking about calories and like just normal activities like going out to eat. I mean, I have had lots and lots of clients over the years who would confess that they always turned down invitations to go out to meals or to go to other people's home for meals because they didn't know what was going to be served and they didn't know if they could eat anything. Food really becomes the center of our lives.
Yeah, it really does.
So, how have things changed for you?
So I feel like I have really been able to enjoy food and um, going out with other people or accepting invitations without worrying about food anymore. Um, but I noticed I was running into like this black and white thinking pattern because I tend to be a black and white thinker and believing that if I'm learning to let go of my ideals for my body goals, then that means I just let myself go and like all my not say health goals, but like then I just kind of do whatever I want, like going one way or the other, like just eating everything because I can and because it's available and not really listening to my body or even really knowing what that meant to begin with about what feels good. And now like I'm learning that ice cream right before bed doesn't feel great and I don't sleep
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it tastes good, but it doesn't feel good. And I was confused about, taste and what feels good and tastes good. So I think that just goes into black and white thinking and just,
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely normal too, Presley. For me, and for so many that I've talked to, it's like you almost have to let the pendulum go all the way from where you're angry over butter in a restaurant,
right,
all the way to I eat anything anytime I want to. Nothing scares me. I'm not afraid of anything. Everything is good all the time. To then settle
yeah,
back into a place of, okay, now what is actually good for me, right? Because it's not like every principle from diet culture or from culture at large about health and the way to eat, every principle isn't wrong. Every principle doesn't have
right,
to be thrown away. It's not all garbage, right? And I do think that there are some in this space that'll say it's all garbage, but no, like there's wisdom, right? Like if you don't eat enough, if you don't eat fruits and vegetables, like your body is gonna have a harder time, right? Like there's definite wisdom to some of the principles out there. I think the problem is there's just been so many and they've been bondage, right? It's like it's really your restaurant illustration, right? Like let's take this to like time as a separate illustration. Right? We all know that we should be good stewards of our time, right?
Right.
I should probably not spend 3 hours a night scrolling Instagram. That's not being a good steward of my time. At the end of doing that, I'm
Yeah.
not going to feel very good, right?
Yeah.
But I don't tend to get legalistic around time, right? Like I might go to bed and be like, oh man, I feel like that was kind of a cruddy way to spend my night. But I'm not going to wake up the next morning like, I can't believe I spent 3 hours on Instagram yesterday. And I'm not going to like for the next week be trying to like make up for it in my time. Whereas like, oh, I'm not going to do anything with social media this week because I already spent 3 hours, right? Like I don't try to compensate for it. I don't like walk around my house feeling guilty or like, well, I shouldn't even open my phone because I already spent 3 hours. Like it's just, and yet it should be the same, right? But I don't hold so tightly to these rules around my time and being a good steward of my time. Oh, but food. Oh, but body, right? Like it's completely different.
That's the stuff.
Yeah. So I want to like backtrack just for a second. One of your responses at the restaurant in the great butter debacle of 2022 was anger,
Yeah.
right? And you were honest in talking to me about this earlier, just like, and you said it a minute ago, like you were like, why isn't my husband going back to like strangle the cook for cooking food in this way? Right. What do you think that anger was?
So yeah, the anger. I feel like the anger is like, can't you see what I'm trying to do? And why is no one supporting me? And this is something I need to do for myself. And I don't know if it's related, but I would also feel angry when people would be enjoying their food and their lives and it seemed like they weren't chasing a goal. And I was like, how
Mm.
come you just get to, be enjoying life and I have to be on a diet or I have to be worried about this butter right now?
Yeah.
Why can't I just eat and
Yeah.
live? And yeah, I don't know what's really behind that, but
Yeah. Well, so yeah, there's a couple of things here. Let's just talk about what you just said first, though. It's like almost like you have a special life sentence, right? Like a
yeah.
special prison. Like all you people are
Mhm.
free, but because I'm special and not necessarily in a good way, right? Like we feel like it's bondage, right? But I have this special life sentence that I have to carry. And that life sentence is I always have to be careful about food because of the way my body will respond to it. And it's funny, I think a lot of times this will come up even like between genders, right? Like women carry this life sentence whereas men don't, right?
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
so you can go to the party and the men can eat, but the women, we're not allowed to do that. Like it's just understood, So when someone's handing out cake at the birthday party, like all the men can take a piece, that's fine. But the women, no, oh, I shouldn't. Oh, and if you're going to take a piece, you have to do what? You have to say, oh, just a small one
Yeah.
or oh, I've been good all week
Well,
so I can have it, right? Like we have to put, whereas a man's just like, yeah, sure, I'll take a piece of cake. Like, cake, no
yeah.
cake. It's not a life or death decision. I'm not offended that you asked me. And so there is this like interesting, like kind of psychological, like, I wonder why we've given ourselves it's a diagnosis of sorts, right? Like me and my body have to have this kind of life sentence. We have to be in this prison because this is what we deserve. This is what
Right.
and for some it's
Yeah.
this is what we've this is the road that we've been on and so we've just ended up here. This is our penance, right? We have to pay for
Yeah.
the sins of our past, right? Or we just have always been paying for the sins of our past. And in some ways, I think that might be from our moms, right? Like mom had to pay, and so I'm still paying, kind of like a generational like a payment kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, and then for others, I think it's just like I've just never felt good enough. So maybe if I could just pay this sentence, then I would feel like maybe I'm good enough. What of all of that, if anything, or maybe there's something else, like, does any of that ring true for the like why only Presli has to eat this way and everyone else at Mozambique can enjoy the food at the restaurant? What do you think? What do you think rings true for you?
Yeah, I think that the aggravation comes in like, um, yeah, why do I have to do this? It sucks. Like this is my lot in life that
Mm.
in order to be acceptable, I have to follow these rules and other people, don't. They just get it. But I mean, I'm growing from that now, but like I can see that that is the secret mindset. And I wrote in my journal for module 9, it was asking about the fear and um where does the fear come from, and like what are lies I'm believing. And I was saying like I believe that smaller women experience life brighter.
Mm.
And I don't know why I came up with that, but that's just what I thought. Like smaller women will get better experiences of life, and they'll enjoy moments more, and they'll have more full and satisfying life experiences than a bigger girl would, or a bigger boned girl, or as I heard once, a corn-fed girl would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think you got that idea? Hey, so we're going to leave you hanging there. Presli and I will continue this conversation in Friday's episode where she'll answer the question and we'll dig more into how she's been doing on her body image journey. My prayer is that listening to Presli's body image journey will encourage your own body image freedom journey, no matter where you're at. I hope that through hearing Presli and I interact around her specific struggles, you'll feel some sense of encouragement. Maybe you feel a sense of normalcy, like, oh yeah, I've done that. I've thought that. But more so, I hope you will see that there is great hope and help for you, no matter how you're struggling with body image today. Go to improvebodyimage.com, figure out how you might take your next best step towards body image freedom. I think that's probably joining us on the 40-day journey, even though we've already started. But at least grab the book and you can plan on joining us next time. But I'm glad you were here today. Come back next time and you can hear the second part of this great coaching session. I hope something today has helped you stop comparing and start living. And hey, did I mention that we have cute shirts? Yes, we do. We have cute compared to who tanks and tees on Etsy now. They are just super fun to wear. And people are always like, compared to who? Oh, that's really clever. I guess I should stop comparing myself. So go check that out on Etsy. The shop is called Compared to Who. Thanks for listening again today. We'll catch you next time.